Hi youngsters, bit of Bowie, the Dame, the Thin White Duke, Ziggy Stardust. I'm lucky enough that I'm old enough that I grew up with David Bowie, like millions. I'm one of those kids that actually saw Bowie on Top of the Pops doing Starman, and he put his arm around Mick Ronson, and the next day everybody at school went, "Did you see that bloke? Did you see that bloke?" It's hard to relay how weird David Bowie was, and even at the sort of tender age that I was 9, 10. In those days, on Top of the Pops, you had Slade and Sweet and Alvin Stardust and T-Rex, Mark Bunnan, and they were all great, but there was something different about David Bowie. You kind of just knew it was cool, even though I had no concept of what cool meant in those days. It was just different. Anyway, there are thousands of David Bowie books out there. But if you had to read one, I thoroughly recommend this. Ziggyology, A Brief History of Ziggy Stardust by Simon Goddard. Simon Goddard is a music writer of many years standing. And what I liked about this book is it assumes you know Bowie after he became famous. But this book is about the David Bowie who was Davy Jones in Bromley and growing up and his sort of 60s career, and it never quite happened, and then had a hit with Space Oddity. And then Ziggy Stardust comes out, and then boom, that's when the world really gets to know who David Bowie is. But it didn't arrive fully formed, the Ziggy Stardust character. So it's a really good biography of David Bowie, but also a history of what was going on at the time, especially in terms of culture and the media. So everything that went into making Ziggy Stardust, and Bowie and the ideas and what he drew in, it's all in there. So Bowie as a child, the sort of programs he would listen to on the BBC Home Service and the Light Service, and little things like, he heard The Planet Suite by Holst, that was played on the radio, and yeah, it's sort of it opened up Bowie's mind to the ideas of worlds beyond Bromley. If you've never heard The Planet Suite by Holst, do yourself a favour, and you realise he wasn't just your average little kid. Everything sort of, other kids heard this stuff, but Bowie heard it, and it sat with him, and eventually, poof, he came up with Ziggy Stardust. So yeah. If you had to read one Bowie book, it's a big ask, but I think this is the one.